Welcome, everyone. It's another episode of Wellness Wednesday. I'm Carla Coleman, Director of Communications at New Salem Baptist Church, and your host for this evening. I hope you're all having a wonderful summer. I think mine is coming along pretty well, I have to say. I have some great guests with us today. They're going to talk about a subject that, again, really important to me as well. And it all has to do with eating and how we eat and how we go about choosing the things that we eat and how it affects our health overall. So come on in, get into the chat, start to think of your questions, and get ready to put some questions in because I think we're going to have a nice long conversation tonight. I'm hoping that I know I have a lot of questions, so I'm sure everyone else does. Tonight I have with me Alicia Fowler. Let's get it right, Carla. Alicia Fowler, and who is a vegan. And then I also have with me Merlyn Ruffin, who is veganish. And we're going to explain what veganish means. But really, this discussion tonight is about how how they are living a plant-based lifestyle. And I know a few years back, I had some health issues, and my sister came to me and said, "You know what? You need to go and start eating more vegetables, and you need to start eating more whole foods." And it really helped turn around my life. It really did. And so I know that I've been trying to push it and do a little more. So I'm excited to hear some of the tips and some of the challenges and successes that these ladies have had in their journey. So welcome, Alicia and Merlyn. Glad to have you on the show tonight. Say
Thank
hello.
you.
Thank you.
Hey.
Hello.
So we'll start with Alicia, and I'm going to say, Alicia, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to come back to you after Merlyn tells us a little bit about herself, and ask you about your journey. Share with us just a little bit about your journey. So let's start with just who are you, Alicia?
Well, of course, I'm Alicia Fowler. I am member of New Salem, of course. Also, mother of three wonderful children, and I am an educator. Entering, just finished my 20th year, I believe it was, in education. So, you know, that's pretty much all I do is kids and work and, you know,
Hey, I,
vegan.
I can understand. And that's enough. What you talking about,
Right,
right? That
right,
is enough.
right.
Really, tell us a little bit about yourself as well. You've been with New Salem for a very long time.
Absolutely. We've been members for 28 years. And this past Monday, I just celebrated 22 years on staff full time. So that's really a blessing. Joined New Salem along with my husband and daughter back in 1993. Boy, that seems like such a long time ago. Um, I'm a native of Mansfield, Ohio, about 60 miles north of here. I've been in Columbus since, boy, 79. I'm feeling old all of a sudden, but been in Columbus
Never.
for a great deal of my adult life. And again, joined New Salem back in 93 and have been serving there ever since. Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, let's get started on our conversation tonight about, living a plant-based life. Alicia, tell us a little bit about your journey as a vegan.
Oh, wow. So I didn't start off vegan. Actually, it started a few years ago, probably about 3 or 4 years ago. I had switched doctors. I was having a lot of health issues, and I'm not that old, so it kind of concerned me. And I had switched doctors, and this new doctor that I went to, she had where you could log in after your visit and kind of see what the notes were that they put in to the system. And so when I logged in for the first time, um, above my name was morbidly obese, and it scared me to death, literally morbidly. And I started freaking out. I remember thinking like, "Oh my God, I got kids. Can I even get life insurance with this? Like, how is this going to affect me?" And my doctor prior to, I had, my job is kind of stressful, very stressful. So, and high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, all that kind of stuff runs in my family. So it is, it's in my, DNA for that matter. But also some things that I was doing was kind of making it more pronounced and pushing it further and further along. And I remember my old doctor telling me at one point, because of my knee, my ankle kept swelling, and he was like, "You have gout," and I'm like, "Gout? That sounds like something my grandma has. What is that?" So for a while I had just been kind of processing, like, I need to do something different, but I didn't know what to do differently. And I was trying, this plan and that plan, and nothing was working for me. Like, I'd stick to it um, for a little bit, and then I'd fall off, and then of course weight comes back on. But there was nothing that I had tried that felt comfortable enough where, like, I could make it a lifestyle. Like, it was something I could do every day and be okay with doing every day. I have a pretty good social life. So, when you think about eating and all that kind of stuff, it's just like, how do I manage that? And I'm out at these wonderful restaurants with all this delicious food. So, when I saw that title on my file, morbidly obese, I had a conversation with my doctor, and one of the first things that she told me, she started asking me, "Well, how much do you exercise, and what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I exercise all the time, because I'm an administrator in a high school, so I'm like, I walk all the time, I'm up and down stairs all the time." And she was like, "Well, you might want to get something to try to start monitoring that, because I bet that what you think you're doing is really, you're not doing as much as you're saying you're doing." And lo and behold, my daughter had bought me an Apple Watch for Christmas. And I remember the first day that I had it on at school, and I looked down at my steps. I'm like, I had 10,000 steps today. I know I had 10,000 steps today. I looked down and it was like 24 something. And I was like completely shocked. And as I went throughout the day or throughout the week, it was still registering around those same amount of steps, where I thought I was exercising and getting the amount of exercise that I needed to affect my weight. I soon realized that what I was doing wasn't really doing that. And then the other thing that she had me start doing was counting my calories. And so I had, started reducing what I thought I was reducing what I was eating, but I started actually logging it into, was it My Fitness Pal? I think it was that I was using first. And I was just amazed at, by the time I got to dinner, I had really already eaten my calories that I was allotted for the day, even though I was having like salads and I was having, yogurt for breakfast, and, these things that in my mind or in what you see on TV, are things that are healthy for you, or just, but once you actually start counting the calories and start seeing all the other stuff that's in there, I was really overeating still, even though I was eating healthier foods. Right. So, some realities had to take, I came to some realities, and that kind of pushed me into changing my way of thinking and looking for a different path that will lead to a more sustainable, healthier life for me. I did not start off vegan. Like I said, I started changing my diet a little bit, switching up some stuff, but then I ended up moving to, I became a pescatarian. And that was the easy part for me, because at this point I had given up pork for so long prior to that. And then beef and chicken, it was iffy anyway. So I started, and I love seafood. So I started eating seafood, and then started exercising a lot more. And I realized that, exercise wasn't a punishment. It actually was a little gift I was giving my body every day, um,
Nice.
and pushing it to do the great things that it could do. So it was like really it was a mind shift for me. And that did take a while for me to get to that point. But it was, it's something that I don't regret at all. But it began by, it was like I had to do something, because that title of morbidly obese just was like, wow, like,
Yeah.
and I didn't,
That's
for me, I didn't think that I looked so different from everybody else. Like, I would
good.
not have, just looking at me, categorized myself as morbidly obese. I wasn't like, at a weight where like you'd be on 600-pound life or something like that. It
Right,
was,
right.
but it registered that way, and that alone was just like really eye opening for me.
One thing you said at the beginning was this is not a diet. This is your lifestyle. I mean, now it's just a part of everything you do, I'm sure.
Hmm. It is. It's
Mhm.
and it's not so much a thought anymore. I mean, when I first started, of course, before I ever went vegan, completely vegan, I researched, checked. I had to figure out, the restaurants that I was going to. Usually, what can I eat there? What am I going? What is this going to? What is this going to look like for me? Because I know that as soon as I get with my schedule and with everything else that I have going on in life, um, if I get in a crunch, I'm just going to revert back to old habits if I don't have a plan. And so
Okay.
part of that year that I was pescatarian, I was also looking into like what my next step was going to be and how was I going to be able to execute that, and execute it successfully. And so I just started looking through Pinterest became my best friend. I have, you know, all kinds of stuff posts on Pinterest that I save, just because I needed to make sure that I had a recipe for this or a recipe for that, or pizza. Where can I get pizza? My family's eating pizza, so what can I eat if I want pizza? I just had to try to figure all that out before I dove into that, and you know, without a life jacket.
Yeah, without the life jacket. Well, we'll come back to actually asking both of you about how you navigate your restaurant experience. But Merlyn, why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey? It's a little different, I would think, but very like a lot like Alicia's.
Hmm. Well, unlike Alicia, I kind of went cold turkey, and I'll explain to you what I meant by what I mean by that. But I've struggled with weight issues most of my adult life, and I've tried, all the popular diets and so forth, and I would have success, and then I would go back to business as usual. Most recently, or last year, our daughter started one of those plans where you order the food, and you know, um, so you're basically eating the food that you're given that you purchase.
Right.
And I said, that sounds like something that might work for me. So I had her send me a couple of food items, and I hated them. I absolutely hated them. So I'm like, okay, God, what am I going to do? And I really started praying about it. Really started seeking the Lord about what I could do to make a difference and impact on my health. I mean, I don't mind saying I turned 65 last year. Both my parents died at young ages. My mother at
Mm,
62 and my dad at 67. So I didn't want that to be my story. So I woke up on September 21st. I'll never forget it. And I hope I don't start crying because I am a waterhead. But I woke up on September 21st and I heard the Lord say fruits and vegetables. I'm like, fruits and vegetables. What does that mean? Am I not eating enough fruit and vegetables? So during the course of the day, I started researching. Then at some point, I heard vegan, and I didn't know a lot about it, but I figured I knew it was eating primarily things that are not from animals. So I did some research that day. Oddly enough, I reached out to Alicia either that day or the following day to ask her to share me about her journey. Long story short, by the end of that day, I had committed to no longer eating meat nor products that come from meat. Um,
mhm.
and I'll rewind just a little bit. Probably 6 or so months prior, I stopped eating eggs. I can't tell you why. Just the thought of eggs, something coming from an animal that I'm cooking now and I'm going to ingest, just started turning me off. The weekend prior to the 21st, Milton and I, we're bikers, so we were out for a ride on a country road, and we rode by some cows, and just the thought of eating cow just turned me off. Now, these are things that I've eaten my whole all 65 years of my life, but it just turned me off. So by the end of the day, I had committed to no longer eating meat or products from meat. I consider myself veganish. I don't know if Carla, you're going to ask me about this later, but I
Yeah.
don't eat any meat nor meat products intentionally. In my research, I saw that pasta, rice, bread um, is vegan, but the bread should be minus milk and eggs. So that's probably where I still have a little point of contention. But since September of last year, um, I have been veganish. Yeah, and it's changed my life. I had a doctor's visit in June. All of my cholesterol numbers have gone down. I got to say this. So in July of last year, July of 19, I'm sorry, I was put on insulin. I have all the classic diseases for African American folks,
Mhm.
diabetes, and I don't like to say that I have these things, but
Mhm.
yeah, I don't like to even speak it. But according to my chart, there's diabetes, there's high cholesterol, there's high blood pressure. I was put on insulin in July of 19, I'm sorry, of 2019. As of today, I'm no longer taking insulin. Again, another
Ah,
benefit of
hallelujah.
choosing the
That
lifestyle.
is
So,
wonderful.
yeah.
And it's just amazing how you know, your what you eat becomes your medicine. It really
Mm-hmm,
does. I mean, it
hmm.
really helps, turn something that you thought was irreversible, turn it completely around.
Absolutely.
That is
Absolutely.
amazing.
And at
That
this
is such a
stage in
great
my life,
testimony.
I was at a point of not giving up, but just saying, it is what it is. I may end up dying young as my parents did. And God said, no, not so.
Mhm. That's so wonderful, wonderful. Wow, what a testimony. That's just amazing. And, before we go any further, I think that we need to kind of put some definitions out here. So, um, Alicia, can you just sort of define what is veganism? Because I think
Okay, so
Merlin touched on it about the eggs and some of the other things. So,
So veganism can expand into your entire lifestyle, right? So when you talk about plant-based eating, that's just basically like a diet about what you eat. But veganism can extend into your entire way of living and existing. So as a as a vegan, I don't eat meat. I don't eat any animal products or byproducts. Um, but veganism can also extend into going into the whole ethical issue of animals just in and of itself. That includes leather and buying things that are leather or made of animal products and things like that as well. So that is a broad spectrum term. But for me, I do not eat any meat, any animal byproducts at all. I when I started when I started being a vegan, um, I wasn't so much a as much of an ingredients watcher as I am now. So it has progressed as I've gone into this a little bit longer. So now I'm like an adamant. I look at the ingredients if I see milk or anything like that or anything related. Like it's a no go for me. But yeah.
hmm nice. So, Merlin, are you an ingredient watcher too?
I am. I am a lot more now than I ever was. And I too look for
Mhm.
things like meat, sugar. Now, cane
Mhm.
sugar is legal. Regular sugar is processed using animal bone char, whatever that is. But when I realized that, it's like, ooh, I don't want to have that. So I've become more adamant about that. Um, and again, I can consider myself veganish because when I learned that, as Alicia said, it's a total lifestyle, not only with what you eat, but what you utilize. I'm like, I wear leather shoes. I have a fur coat. I'm not sure I'm ready to give those things up. So that's why I term myself as vegan-ish. But certainly, again, in what I eat and no meat. I've recently started eating meat substitutes like Beyond makes a burger,
Mm-hmm.
and it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't because I felt like I was missing anything. It was just I tried it and it was pretty
Mm-hmm.
decent. Even like
Okay.
Burger
Yeah.
King has an Impossible Whopper. Man, I love that. I don't know what's going on with the bun. Probably not good, but the burger
Yeah.
in and of itself is pretty good. Wendy's has one. Um, and they're not even paying me to say this. They have a spicy black bean burger that I think it recently came out, and it's pretty good.
Hmm.
So again, I'm trying meat substitutes, not because I miss meat, but because they're things that taste good and they have protein that I need to make sure I get enough of.
And that's what I was going to ask. It's one thing when you're at home fixing your own meal and you have control. When you get out into a restaurant and you're with family and friends and you see a menu, I mean, how do you navigate that?
Wow. So I will eat meat alternatives sometimes. I try to avoid them now. Like they were my go-to when I first started, actually. I'm a huge mushroom fan now. So most of my meals, a lot of my meals, my dinner includes some mushroom, some kind of way. Cauliflower is like also one of my best buds as well. Last night, I for the first time made walnut meat, a meat alternative using soaked
Ah,
walnuts, which turned out fabulous.
mhm,
So um, that is my thing now. So I like trying new things. I like I said, I'm always on Pinterest and I follow a lot of vegan chefs and things on Instagram and Facebook and things like that. So I'm always getting recipes from these groups and things like that for me to try. So when I'm at restaurants, I can always tweak something. And believe it or not, if you tell the waiter or waitress that you're vegan, they will, oh, okay, well, I'll let the chef know. And I've never been anywhere that where they have not been helpful or wanting to, try to figure out, okay, well, what can we do here? Like even to the point of cleaning off the grill and let us saute your mushrooms over here. And, like they have been, most people have been very accommodating with things that I need.
that's
Or I
wonderful.
just
I
eat
mean, that
before I
hasn't
go and then,
always been that way. What did you
right,
say, Alicia?
right.
I'm sorry.
I said, or I just eat before I go and then, I don't have to worry
Okay.
about it. But for the most part,
Yeah.
I do eat out quite often. I've
Mhm.
not had a problem with finding something.
Yeah. And that's
Mhm.
new because, if you would say 5 years ago or 10 years ago, restaurants wouldn't have been as accommodating. They really wouldn't be. And I
Mhm.
think it's just becoming more and more acceptable. How about yourself, Merlin? How do you navigate restaurants and eating out?
Yeah, I used to think that I was confined to salads and whatever vegetables they might have. But like Alicia, I'm being more inquisitive when I go. I'll ask if they have something that's vegan or can they change up a menu. I met my daughter in Florida about 3 weeks ago, and we were in the restaurant and they had a pasta, but it had I think chicken and shrimp. I'm like, can you just take that out? And is there anything you can do with the sauce to make it less illegal, if you will? And they were willing. They were willing to work with me. But I got a
Mhm.
gift from Alicia a couple days ago, and I'm sure she'll talk more about this. But there is an app that you can use that tells you where vegan restaurants are. Is it nationwide, Alicia? I think it
It's
is. Yeah,
nationwide. It's nationwide.
yeah.
Actually, before
Which
I
is
go on a trip, I create a trip in my in the app myself, and like I'll search for like if I go to Nashville, I'll type in Nashville, and you have the option of putting in like vegan friendly, vegan options, whichever way you're going. But I
mhm,
always put in vegan, and then like all of that will populate, and so I'll go on their websites, and if I like it, I'm like I'll put it in the trip so that when I get there, all I got to do is go to my trip and then I can just hit directions and it just automatically syncs
mhm.
to my phone and takes us
Wow.
there. So it's
That's
been
wonderful.
great.
That's awesome. And I'm discovering new restaurants locally all the time.
Mhm.
My husband is a principal as well, and he's been mentoring a couple ladies at this school that are becoming principals, whatever. And this, so they put a sign on our in our yard one day, and they gifted us a gift card for Lifestyle Cafe. And I'm thinking,
Oh,
what
okay.
is this? I'm thinking Lifetime Fitness Center, whatever. Found out it's
Mhm.
a African American owned restaurant on the east side. And I went last
Mhm.
week twice.
Oh, good.
It was absolutely delicious. So for me, it met the criteria of supporting Black businesses and having things that were legal for me. Mm.
Wonderful. I've heard great things about that restaurant, so I'm gonna have to go over
Try
there
it.
myself and check it out.
Try the taco
Nice.
toast and the patty melt. Oh my goodness.
Mm.
Change your life.
Love it. Love it. Wonderful. Wonderful. So I usually wait a little longer to jump in to ask a chat question, but there's one that's relative to what we're talking about right now. And the question is, how does a vegan pre-plan meals for the week? And do you have any recipes? And I know Merlin shared a couple recipes that we're going to put up on the
Yeah.
screen in a few minutes. But talk about how you plan your meals ahead of time.
Well,
Do you
for me,
do some of
planning
that
is
pre?
essential. I didn't hear the
Oh,
last part of the
okay.
question.
No,
Well,
I was just
planning
going
is
to say, do
essential.
you do that prep, that meal prep?
Not always physically, but in my mind. I'm thinking about when I get up in the morning what I'm going to have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and so then that's what I'm again thinking about all day, how I'm going to navigate this. Plus, my husband is not vegan, so I have to figure
Mm,
out how I can, plan a meal and fix a meal for him and myself. So often, I'll fix whatever meat he wants, and that doesn't bother me at all. In fact, I look at it and I go, no thanks. But I'll plan a meat for him and then a vegetable, and then I'll eat that vegetable along with, and again, maybe pasta or rice or whatever else I'm going to have. But yeah, planning is absolutely, absolutely essential. I took out today. I took out this morning a steak for him, and I had some Beyond Burgers that I'm going to um,
okay.
fix for myself, and salad for the both of us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What was the
Wow,
second
that's
part of the
and that's
question?
tough. Oh, I
Yeah,
was gonna.
well,
Go
it's
ahead.
only tough for me. It's only tough when I've not planned it out. If I get to dinner time and I'm like, okay, what am I going to eat? Then it becomes an issue if I've not thought ahead.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Oh, and then
Gotcha.
the other part was
Oh,
recipes. So I sent. I don't know. Do you want
yeah.
to talk about those now or?
Yeah. Why don't we put up one of your
Okay,
favorites? Mike, you
sure.
want to go ahead and put up the first slide?
Well, let's put up the creamy. Yeah, that one, the vegan fettuccine. That was probably one of the first ones that I tried, and it's absolutely delicious. In fact, I finished it off today for lunch. But the cream sauce is I make it with almond milk and veggie broth, and it comes out after
Mm,
you cook it so long. It comes out. The consistency is really creamy. But you
mm,
start off by just sauteing onions and garlic, and then you put in the liquids and the fettuccine noodles. And the longer you cook it, again, it starts to thicken.
mm.
Cooks about 20 to 30 minutes. Put some basil, some oregano on it, some salt and pepper. Good to go.
It's-
It's quick,
mm,
it's easy, like about maybe 30 minutes total, but it's really good.
that sounds that sounds delicious. And what we're going to do is put this up on our social media page for everyone if you're interested. And here's the second one that you shared.
Yeah, now this one, it's a soup, but depending on, you can make it more like a casserole, I guess. But saute carrots, celery, mushrooms, onions, and then put in for the base is veggie broth, some more seasoning, the thyme, salt, pepper, rice, wild rice, and you cook that until it becomes, again, whatever consistency you want. Sometimes I do it soupy, like soup. Other times I make it a little thicker. But
Mhm.
again, it cooks about an hour. It's easy. The hardest part is chopping up the veggies. And if you don't want to do that, you can buy them already chopped up. But just combining those, sautéing them, putting in the liquid. After an hour, you've got and you've got a meal for a couple of days. And I don't mind having leftovers. My husband says the
Mhm.
reason it's left over, that's the reason it's left over, because he didn't want it more than one day or something. But anyway, but yeah, I don't mind leftovers. I can eat something 2 or 3 days. So this always
Mhm.
lasts me a couple of days. So I may have it for dinner one day or lunch the next day, and I'm good.
Mhm. Nice. I'm the same way. I can do a leftover several days.
Mhm, mhm.
Excellent. Well, thanks for sharing those. And
Sure,
Alicia, what
sure.
about you? You have any favorite recipes?
Well, I'm the only vegan in my house, so of five. So
Mhm.
initially, when I started out, I was doing two separate meals because I have my youngest child is 14. My
Mhm.
middle child has since become pescatarian, and she will eat the stuff that I fix as well. But over the course of the year and a half that I've been vegan, um, I have I started switching their meals and they didn't even know it. Like so, all of my sides now that I cook are all vegan. Um, so when I fix things like fettuccine or stuff like that, I will fix the base of it vegan, and then like I'll cook the chicken piece on separately for them to add into it. But so that we're having the same thing, and they didn't even know until I finally told them. Well, my son kind of got smart and started. He was going to the grocery store with me, and he would start paying attention to the ingredients that I was buying, and he'd start asking questions. But for the most part, they didn't. They had no idea that I can't tell you when the last time I put some smoked turkey in greens or something. But on a daily basis, like planning my meals, my breakfast is usually a shake. I'm still in the process of trying to lose weight. Um,
Mhm.
and so my first meal is a shake. And then I usually have, depending on my schedule, um, it's either my lunch, and if it's too late, it becomes my dinner because I try not to eat
Mhm.
past a certain time.
Mhm.
But I'm really conscious about snacking in between. So if it's something, it might be some like kale, or I keep kale chips on me. I keep seaweed in my car as well. I just keep like little healthy stuff with me at all times if I need to have like a snack in between. Um, I'm pretty much a 2 meal a day person, to be honest with you. So
Mhm.
and then just as far as the meals go, like I said, most of the time I'm eating mushrooms. So I will at the beginning of the week or that weekend when I'm trying to, get stuff together, I will do like a big thing of mushrooms that I've sauteed with onions and maybe peppers or whatever. And then, for me, I will fix like brown rice and I'll throw that over top of brown rice. Or, if we're having potatoes or mashed potatoes, I'll eat it with that. I have become okay with eating some of the same things, like, I do switch it up a lot, but during the week, it's kind of like whatever I need to eat. um
Mhm.
so
Nice. Right. So
but I've
both of
learned
you
a
don't
lot
really
about,
do any. Go
like
ahead.
really if you're when you're thinking about changing your lifestyle or way of eating, people think that it's such an absolute. It's really not like
Mhm.
such a bad thing. There is nothing that we eat normally, like say in the black community, that cannot be made in a healthier version or can't be made into a vegan version. Even
Mhm.
macaroni and cheese. I've learned how to use the aquafaba from chickpeas, the juice from the chickpea can. It thickens things, and so when you're making your macaroni and cheese and you want to make that baked macaroni and cheese, where you got to cut it, you know, and you can't add egg to it, aquafaba works. So
Mhm.
and when using vegan cheese, instead of just using it straight out the package or whatever, if you need something creamy and to really melt it, You melt it with a little oat. I use oat milk. I don't use almond milk, but I use oat milk in everything I do. So I make like a cheese sauce. So if when you put it in with the milk and you melt it, it becomes like a cream or like a cheese sauce. And then you put it on your macaroni. So now you can get it all incorporated into your noodles and everything. And you're back to, that deliciousness that you remember when you were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was about to say. Is it good? Does it taste good when you
It's
do all
good.
that?
It's
All
good.
right.
My husband is adamant that he's not going to be vegan. So,
Mhm.
I have to make sure
But
that
he is.
yeah, that things are
Yeah.
still delicious enough.
Mhm. But
Well,
when you're, go ahead, Marilyn.
I was just going to say, both my husband and I grew up eating the traditional soul food, and I've always been kind of noted for my greens. So now what I do, and he likes them with smoked neck bones. So now what I do is I put them, first of all, I put them in a pressure cooker. So instead of 3 hours or 2 hours, they're done in about an hour. I use vegetable broth and I use vegetable base. And when I tell you they come out so well seasoned, so when they're done, I'll take a little pot and put a couple neck bones in there, and then I'll put some greens in there for him and let him just get a little flavor, so he doesn't feel like he's missing anything that he wants. But yeah, I mean, I
Mhm.
love it,
That's
just the
right.
vegetable broth.
And that's what I'm saying. It's just getting creative and
Mhm,
introducing new foods and new ideas to your family too, because there's going to be some
mhm,
things that may be, plant based and veganish or vegan that are still just really good, and anybody would want to eat
mhm,
it. So, and especially
absolutely.
with your children, Alicia, I'm thinking, these are other options that they might consider as they're going on in life, that this was
Hmm.
just a part of what we ate at home, and it tasted good, and I'll just continue doing that, and it's good for me as well.
Mhm.
Yep, yep, absolutely. We have another question in the chat here, and one is for Alicia. And so, Mike, as soon as I ask the question, I want you to share the picture that Alicia shared with us. And the question is, Alicia, how long was your weight loss journey?
My weight loss journey. Oh, well, it
Yeah,
was a
when did you
journey.
get
So
started?
it to where it was sustainable about a year. Prior to
Okay.
that, I had been on many things, like, many different fad diet things. I I tried it all, So
Mhm.
like, Dr. Ruffin, much of my adult life, especially after children, I began struggling with weight because, I was in school, I was starting a new career, all these things were taking place at the same time. And so, you know, health, exercising, watching what I was eating, I get home late, that wasn't a priority. And
Mhm.
so, the weight began to get, to come on. And before you know it, like I said, like looking at that picture that you just showed, when I showed that to the first time I ever posted that, some of my closest friends said to me, well, when were you that? Because they never
Mhm.
saw me as that, right? And
Yeah.
it's like you get so comfortable in where you are, and even the people around you get so comfortable with that, it takes
Oh,
a picture
yeah.
like that to say, why were you letting me be like that? Well, I don't even remember you like that.
Mhm.
Well, that was just like a year ago. And so
Mhm.
um, it has been like to sustain my weight and like to get the weight off, the 100 pounds off. It was about a year, and that year it included me learning a whole new lifestyle, trying different things or whatever, and getting to the point where I was where exercise was such an important part of my week, such an important part of my day. Like right now, I'm thinking like when I get off here, I need to go to the gym. Like it is something that even if I have to do it at 9 o'clock at night, I'm going to try my best to do it. It's not something, if I go a day without doing it, I'm like, Alicia, you should have been in the gym. Like it's something that's constantly playing in my head, I need to do. Whereas that wasn't the case before. So about a year, like for real working on it. But prior to that, I was hit and miss here and there. At one point I lost like 60 pounds on doing this one program, and then it came right back, and but I finally was able to get rid of all the clothes in my closet somewhat. They're still kind of in boxes, but
Yay. Great. Yeah. Hey, you talk about exercise. So why don't both of you ladies talk a little bit about your exercise regimen, or what you do weekly, what you aspire to do, or just talk a little
Well,
bit
I
about
have
exercise.
never had, I'm sorry, I've
Go
never
ahead.
had an issue with working out. I've always loved to work out. Been a
Mhm.
member of Lifetime Fitness for probably about 20 years until last year. And I finally let my membership go, but I replaced it with something else after the start of the pandemic. For a while, we couldn't go. So I started just using what we have in the home. And we have a gym in our basement. So I started lifting there using YouTube videos or videos from Lifetime to do lifting. Um, I cycle. I have an indoor bike, a stationary bike, and I have an outdoor bike. So depending on the weather, I do those. But I've just over the recent months started increasing that. My husband, bless his heart, he bought me a Peloton bike about 2 months
Nice.
ago, and I've really gotten into that. I mean, there's all kinds of workouts. You can join live classes, or you can just select classes on your own and do that. So I'm pretty active. In terms of one of my health issues, my doctor told me that you have to work out 4 times a week to stay alive. Okay, I will.
Mhm.
I'm all about staying
Mhm.
alive. So usually 4 to 5 times a week. And I set a bar, like I track the number of calories that I burn, and then I try the next month to exceed that. So I kind of can have a competition going with myself. But I lift a couple times a week, and then I do cycling 2 to 3 times a week. Yeah,
Oh,
and it's just
wonderful. That's
like Alicia
awesome.
said, it's what you have to do, and I don't mind doing it.
Mhm. And Alicia, you said you're hitting the gym even late at night if you have to.
I do, and but then that ends up keeping me like I went late last night, and I don't think I went to bed till almost 2 o'clock, because you just get this rush of energy for it. But
Mm-hmm.
uh, so I try to go to the gym about 3 or 4 times a week. Sometimes that's hit or miss, but I always have backup. So um, like Dr. Ruffin said, she has this membership, that membership. I have a membership at the Y. I have a Planet Fitness membership. I have online, I do this program called X28. So I have backups to the backups. So if I can't get to the gym,
Okay.
I'm either going to Planet Fitness because they're open 24 hours, or I'm about to log in to X28 Fitness, or over here downstairs, I have weights and all kinds of things. And once this summer ends, I'm also buying me a Peloton bike because I love
Nice.
cycling. But in the summertime, usually I am out at Scioto Mall. I like walking, and I do the stairs over there by Cosi. That's always a nice little exercise to zip up and down and do, squats and things as going up. So I try to change up where I am just because I get bored easily. So it just depends, but it's a conscious thing. That's the thing. That's the most important thing, to start making it a conscious decision. Just like you
Mhm.
get up, wash your face, brush your teeth. Okay, when am I exercising today? That has to be in my day as well.
Mhm.
My
Sometimes.
sister says that to me all the time. She says, Carla, it's like brushing your teeth. You gotta go
Mhm.
exercise. It's
Yeah, no
true.
less than
Absolutely.
30 minutes of cardio every day. Well,
Mhm.
Wonderful.
Mhm.
Wonderful. Excellent.
where your heart rate
All
is
right, you
truly
guys,
up.
Mhm.
yeah, really get
Absolutely.
it moving. Mhm.
Yeah. In fact, that when I wake up, I start planning my morning, my pre-work activities, and if I can't get exercise in there, I'm not a happy camper.
Mhm. Excellent. So we have another question from the chat. what are your snack secrets to kill your cravings? You have anything that you know that it's coming, and it's like, okay. And I think Alicia, you alluded to this earlier, your kale chips and that you keep in the car.
Yeah, my friends talk about me about my snack uh, choices. I taken to work the other day some mushroom jerky, and my one friend was like, "What is mushroom jerky?" But it's really good. But just when you want to like eat on something, it's a great alternative. It's not not eating meat. You're not whatever. I keep seaweed in my car. I love seaweed. I've learned to love seaweed. I love kale. So those kale chips are there. Cauliflower bites. You can buy them in the store. They're so good. They have this buffalo flavor, and to me, it like satisfies that crunch that I want from a chip. And I do eat chips. Like I don't try to deny myself anything, but I try to. It's all in moderation, right?
Sure.
So I think once you start denying yourself or telling yourself I can't have this, or that's when you want it more, and that's when you overeat it more.
Right.
So it's not that I can't
Mhm.
have a chip, but I can't
Hmm.
have the bag of chips.
Right.
Right.
I
Right.
can have
Right.
a handful of
Right.
chips so I can get that crunch need out and that salt need out of, the
Mhm.
way. But I have to get to and I have to learn how to mentally prepare. There's a mental
Right.
aspect to this as well. So it's not
Hmm.
just so as much as the physical change has had to happen with me, the mental change was even more important. And so I had to get to a mental space where I had to accept boundaries for myself, place boundaries for myself, and then follow through with them and be okay with that. And no one else can do that but you. So you can go to whoever you want to and get this plan, that plan, whatever that plan, anything. If you have not decided here and figured out how I'm going to mentally handle this, because food is comfort, and food does so many things for us outside of just nourish our bodies. It for some people meant like when you're sad you eat, when you're happy you eat, when you're nervous you eat, when you it provides like a warm blanket for some people. And so you have to get your mind right and wrapped around the reasons, why am I overeating, why am I eating this stuff to begin with, what is, why am I okay with this doing this to my body? And it's because there's a
Right.
reason. And until you get to the source of the reason and then deal with that, then it doesn't matter what you are, it won't last, it won't stick, it won't whatever, because you still have that unanswered problem and that unanswered issue that you really need to deal with.
You can't maintain it. Your maintenance is almost shot.
Right.
So, Merlin, what
Right.
about your snacks? What do you snack on?
Well, in my initial research, I saw that things like popcorn and pretzels are legal. So that's
Mhm.
primarily what I keep in my pantry. I like Alicia. I like chips, and I look at the ingredients. I'm like potatoes. Okay, that's plant based. Oil. That's. So I do have chips, but I no longer can buy the real big bags. If I want chips, I got to buy the small bag, and when it's done, it's done. Because I know I can sit and eat a big bag in one setting, and then that will have ruined my entire day. But
Mhm.
yeah, those are primarily my go to. And fruit, I love fruit, and then I go back to what I heard God say initially: fruit and vegetables. So I usually those are the snacks that I take to work. Fruit. I had popcorn, skinny popcorn, and
Mhm.
cherries today. So those are my go tos.
Nice. Very good. Okay, I got another really good question in the chat here, and it is it more expensive to be vegan or plant-based? And where do
And
you
not more
get your
expensive
protein?
than those prescriptions.
What did you say, Alicia?
Not more expensive than those prescriptions that you
Amen.
have to. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think initially,
Mm-hmm.
it seems more expensive because when you get into buying a whole lot of um, processed foods are expensive no matter what, whether you're vegan, not vegan, whatever. So when you're buying those things, they're expensive. But when you look at buying or moving into like a whole foods plant based or a whole foods vegan lifestyle, um, the price of a big bag of rice or the price of, a bag of greens or a price of a bunch of mushrooms or, tomatoes, onions, peppers, all those things that really are what you should be eating and getting your nutrients from, that is not expensive at all. But
Right.
I understand that that is a process to get to that place. And you
Mhm.
have to be okay with your journey. Like, so, when I started and, I primarily was eating a lot of the meat alternatives and all that kind of stuff too. That was fine because I needed to do that in order for me to get to the place where I can start trying to wean myself off of that because that's what I wanted to do.
Mhm.
And you don't have to wean yourself off of it, but that's where I wanted to go with my journey. So it just depends. I don't think it's any more expensive than buying regular grocery. Actually, I think my grocery bill has gone down significantly. Um,
Mhm.
because I eat off of
Oh.
something just like Ruffin said for a couple of days.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mhm.
What would you say, Merlin?
Yeah, I agree. I think it all pans itself out. And I'll go back to what Alicia said initially about the money that I was spending on things like insulin and the
Mhm.
medications and
Mhm.
so I don't have that expense anymore. And then what I would have paid for meat, I've cut that in half because I'm not having it. So again, I think it kind of levels itself out. Um, yeah.
Okay. The second half of that question was, where do you get your protein? I think you just kind of gave us a nice segue to that. What type of foods do you eat to get the protein that you might need?
Where
Well,
you get protein in grains, beans, seeds, nuts, vegetables. I think there's like 3 grams of protein in a serving of mushrooms. I eat a lot of those all the time. Everywhere. The biggest animals in the world are herbivores. They don't eat meat.
mhm,
We're just been taught that that's what we're supposed to do, and in
mhm,
reality, it's crazy. I'm gonna say this because I'm vegan, but I say this to my friends all the time. They kind of turn side eyes to me. We're asking, we're taking dead flesh and asking it to provide nutrients for a living body.
mhm,
It's kind of crazy.
mhm,
We do what we're used to and what we're comfortable with, right? So just as you learn to eat that meat because they say that that's where you can get protein, there God has made a lot of things. He's
mhm,
there's protein in vegetables, there's protein in grains, there's protein in all that stuff. So you're not limited, and we have to get to a point where we stop tunnel vision as far as what we can eat or how we can eat and understand that there's a broad range of things that are available in this world for us to eat and live on that are healthier versions or healthier for us than eating necessarily meat every day. That you have to completely give it out because I know some people just like, I gotta eat my chicken wings. Okay, well maybe not every week. Maybe you start slowing down here and there. So yeah, protein is not even. I don't know that that's even an issue for me because I'm everything I eat has some source of protein in it.
mhm,
Mhm.
mhm. I think when I first started, my go-tos were I love pinto beans, love pinto beans, black eyed peas. I just no longer cook them in smoked neck bones. I cook them again in like a vegetable broth. So I kind of went backwards. I went with those things first. And then as I learned about the meat substitutes, I kind of went to that. And now, after listening to Alicia, I'm starting to have second thoughts about, or maybe just not doing so much of that. And I don't do it every day, but I know that those things are a good source of protein as well. So I make them part of my diet 2 to 3 times a week, not every day.
Excellent. All right. I think we have one more question we can take, and then we'll start to wrap it up. But do you feel you need to take any oh, well, I think we asked that question. Any supplements or anything additional because or Or do you feel that you're satisfied in as far as vitamins and everything you need with your vegetables?
Listen, yeah, I don't regret anything. I think, I think you can get a lot of your medicines and things that you need, um, just from the foods you eat. If you eat healthy, a lot of that is there, already. Um, and so, you don't have to go and take a whole lot of other medicines or vitamins or things, in addition to that. I do take a multivitamin, but I was taking a multivitamin before. So it's not just because I've switched to vegan that I'm taking a multivitamin. It was already existing. But yeah, no. And sea moss has 92 of the 102 minerals that you need in your body every day. Add it to your smoothies or something. Take a teaspoon of it, tablespoon actually.
Where, okay, so where do you get your sea moss?
Where did I get my sea moss? So I used to order from people, just people that I knew that made it. Lifestyle
Okay,
Cafe actually sells it. It's on their menu. They have it there too. But
okay.
I more recently made my own. Because you can buy like this dried sea moss,
Mm-hmm.
and you just soak it, and you soak it for overnight, and then you rinse it and you soak it again, because you got to get the you getting dirt out, and you getting that fishy taste out of it. So you rinse it
Okay.
and soak
Okay.
it, probably about a good 2 or 3 times, and then I put it in my blender with alkaline water, and it turns into like this, um, like almost like gel. And you can add different
Mm-hmm.
flavors to it. So one batch I made, I added strawberries to it. So it's kind of strawberry flavored. But
Mm-hmm.
everybody sells it now. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Wow, great tip. Excellent.
Chlorophyll in your
All
water
right.
helps detox your liver, all those things.
Say that again. What in your water?
I said chlorophyll in your water helps detox your
Mm-hmm.
liver. It also helps with
Mm-hmm.
weight management and just detox your body and just in general. One of the benefits of, changing your diet and your lifestyle and things that you're putting in your body, because what you put in comes out. So, like I haven't used traditional deodorant in like 3 years, just because,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
you, you just, I've switched up so many things. So, um, research, like I could tell you all this stuff, but it's like until you see it. I have my best friend, and I know she's probably watching right now. I always tell her these things. Girl, you need to try that. And she looks at me side eyes, and then she'll see Tabitha Brown or somebody will say the same thing, and she'll call me and be like, Alicia, did you know? And I'm like, I told you that like a month ago. you know but research, that's how I learned, and the reasons why. I found out the reasons why for myself, and not just because
Sure.
somebody else was
Sure.
telling me what to do.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Mhm.
Excellent. All right. Well, we're getting close to the top of the hour here, and this has been a really great discussion. I know I learned and have been inspired a lot because I need to take that extra step too, and I know I'm ready. But like you said, it's all in your head. It's all about getting your mind right and persevering. So before we
Mhm.
leave, I'd like each of you to just kind of give us some closing remarks and talk about what you would like people to remember from this conversation, and maybe even share a tip or two. Who wants to start?
Okay, I'll
Alicia?
go. All right.
Um,
As in everything in life, find your purpose and your reason why, and find it for yourself, not just because someone else told you. So, when it comes to your health is your wealth, and it is, everything and all about you. And it is one thing that you can be absolutely selfish about, and making sure that you take the time to take care of you and learn about you and learn your reasons why you want to make changes in your life, and stick to them,
mm,
and find
Stick
someone
to it.
that is on your same journey or in the same walk or similar, so that you guys can be supports for each other. That was a big
mhm.
thing
Okay.
for me.
Mhm.
Excellent.
So for me, a big motivation is to feel good and to live life longer. Again, in that my parents both died in their 60s, so like I'm in my 60s. What's going to happen here? So that's a big motivation. As we were talking about supplements and so forth, I've always taken multivitamin, fish oil, all these things that I'm now working on, seeing if we can reduce those because I am eating better. Working with my
Mhm.
doctor to look at other medication, excuse me, that I can possibly either reduce or get rid of altogether. So for me, it's just I want to feel good and I want to be around to continue to do the work that I feel that God has called me to do. And I don't want to die prematurely, but I want to live to see some grandchildren and all those neat things. But I just want to feel good, want to feel better.
And I think that's the biggest benefit is to feel better. I know there's so many of us out there who are on, different medications and fighting, especially in our community, diabetes and high blood pressure and all these things. And God has put right here on earth what we need to fix it. And it's just
Absolutely.
really kind of reprogramming ourselves and looking at those vegetables and the different things that can make us, and even Alicia's mushrooms and her moss. I love
I
it.
don't know
Hey,
about the
I never heard
moss.
of the mushroom. No, the mushroom jerky. No, honey, I have not heard of that one before. But that's, hey, but I'm chalking it up and I'm gonna research it. But I'm just saying, we all either are experiencing it ourselves or know people around us who are. And the biggest benefit is that we can live, like Merlyn said, a much longer life. And as Alicia said, we need to be intentional in our effort to do so. So thank you so much, ladies, for joining me tonight. Joining our group of folks who come out and see us every week on Wellness Wednesdays. Thank you, audience, for all the great questions in the chat. And all I have to say tonight is eat your vegetables and get your exercise. So thank you
Right.
so much. You've been very inspirational. Everyone, have a good night. Stay safe. Stay healthy.
Hey, thank you.